All right, ready? Welcome to Tinfoil Talks. Hi, my name is Brent Wallace, and welcome to the Tinfoil Talks. Today, we're going to be talking about data and how that has some privacy issues behind it. And on my left, I have Tanner. On my right, I have Sebastian, and they are going to be your discussion panelists today.
Okay, thanks Brent for introducing us. So, first off, data mining is huge in today's society, and it's something that our parents didn't grow up with, and something that pretty much we all are a part of now. Like if you have a smartphone, if you have a computer, if you use the internet. What do you think about why does data mining affect you, and do you care?
Well, I think it affects us in a number of ways. Big data, they collect it, and it's a multi-million-dollar industry.
Billions.
Yeah, billions. Sorry. They
Mark
use
Zuckerberg.
It. They use it for a lot of marketing techniques, and whenever you search anything, suddenly you find advertising that's similar to what you just searched about. So it is very prominent in our everyday lives, and I think, personally, I'm not getting a big enough cut out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, and to a point, it is beneficial. And if you can argue, if I'm not doing anything malicious or suspicious, why would I care that my data is being harvested? But it's the point that we're using all these services like Facebook and Twitter and Google and everything, but we're the input. We are providing these companies with their material. We're the product for Facebook to sell to other people, and we're thinking that we're receiving from Facebook when we're actually giving. And I think it's that illusion that they've created that.
And it's a brilliant illusion. I mean,
it is.
They've got us, and it's from simple things that you wouldn't even expect. Something as simple as that Facebook game that was very popular a couple of years ago, being Farmville. That was.
Did you play Farmville?
Admittedly, I raised a few cows back in my day.
I couldn't get into it.
But that was their way of accessing your data. In order to play the game,
pretty much you had
to give them access to everything that really wasn't necessary for the game. No. I mean, and they didn't need to know all my contacts in order for me to raise cows.
And you're familiar with the Google Store, the Google App Store on your phone.
Yeah.
Where if you get an app, the first thing it asks you before your password even is permissions.
Yeah.
This app requires access to your microphone, to your camera, to your photos, your contacts, text messages, call history. Why?
I you know what? It's all just for data collecting. I mean,
exactly.
it's definitely not for the purpose of the app.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Temple Run does not need access to my microphone.
No.
Or my camera.
There's something to be said about we're using these apps, and we've never really known a world in which we can get these apps without these permissions being accepted. We've grown up pretty much always accepting these terms and conditions when you sign up for iTunes or sign up for any music streaming service. There's a huge list of terms and conditions, and we pretty much bypass them. I'm guilty of never reading them.
Since we were kids, we've been sort of conditioned to simply not even scroll through it and just accept the terms and conditions for just about everything we've used.
Yeah.
Software-wise, I mean, I remember, any video game I had as a kid, and you install it, there's the terms of agreement, and I did not ever bother to read it. And if you actually read it, there's probably something in there that you do not want.
I mean, your data can be used and
distributed.
Shown, and distributed. Yeah. Pretty much meaning sold to other companies. And trying to think of my next point, I forgot.
Something positive about
something positive.
Well, you could talk about how the data they collect could be beneficial, for medical uses or
mm-hmm.
for bettering
I was
services.
I was gonna talk about who's really at fault, right? We talked about in computer science class, there's a very common underlying theme of the man and the government collecting this data, and corporations collecting data. And none of us know what they're really doing with it. But who's really at fault? I mean, they are legally obligated to pretty much to tell us directly
And
what
it is
do.
our choice whether we want it or not.
It's our
and
fault.
the trade is, how badly do you want their service? And apparently it's
Exactly.
pretty bad.
It's a trade-off. But yeah, and the problem is, right, that a lot of people realized all of this data collection fine print have you after the fact of getting Facebook. I got Facebook in 2008, and I was 13 years old, and I didn't know. I was a 13-year-old boy. I wanted to message my friends and post cool, funny photos. Little did I know that there was a office building full of servers gathering every letter I type and every move I make on this website.
And I think at that age, it didn't really matter to us.
No.
It was like, what information could they possibly collect that would be
incriminating,
that we didn't want the world to know? But now Facebook has grown to a situation where it's how employers look for employees. That's how they figure out whether they want you in the company or not, is by how you run your Facebook, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and are employers wrong by doing that? I don't think they are, because it's all voluntary. You could, when Facebook came out, before making a profile, I mean, the things that I've posted on the internet, if I wanted to get rid of them, I couldn't.
No.
If all of my content on the internet is there.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away. But if I wanted to deactivate my Facebook account and just kind of get out of it and no longer provide data, I mean, I couldn't erase the data I've already provided because it's
already
in their database and servers. But I could discontinue my data input to Facebook if I wanted to. But nobody wants to.
No, because it's become such a great avenue for just about any form of communication, in terms of whether it's just connecting with friends or family, or in a business sense where you can use it to advertise a company.
Yeah.
And again, to find employees. So it's become big enough where you want it in your life indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's also taking a lot of information out of you.
Yeah.
And again, they are making a lot of money off of it.
And we're not making any.
No.
But we can shift the discussion a little bit now towards the physical aspect of technology. I mean, there's data collection, but by softwares and websites, other than Facebook, of course, Google and Twitter, a lot of social media and search engines. But
I think you talk about like the benefits of the collected data makes services more appealing.
Yeah, of course.
To create more appealing.
Of course, they can. I get ads on my Facebook showing sweaters that have my name on them.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Brent, he's nodding in the back. He gets them too. It's just the strangest thing. And Max, our roommate, actually ordered one.
Oh.
Because it said, "Keep calm and drink like a Flanagan." It came up on his Facebook, and he ordered it, and it came in the mail. I mean, he paid for it, because if that ad didn't show up on his Facebook,
he would not have known about it.
He would not have known about the shirt, and
wouldn't have made the purchase.
It was pretty much just an image generator of a blank shirt, and based on his name, it just generated text. And I'm sure thousands of other users got "keep calm and drink like a last name" insert.
Right. It's very, very simple marketing.
Yeah, it's very simple.
And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
It worked for him. Well, it didn't work for him. Worked for the company.
Worked for the company. Yeah.
Yeah, so with all this surveillance, it's, the government's arguing that we're safer, right? And this bill C-51 that was passed by the Harper government, a lot of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms was pretty much struck out, crossed off.
Right. Yes. In the name of
in the name of security.
Safety.
And if you're listening to this on audio, you can't see my quotation marks, but yeah, security, protection against foreign threats, which is much less than the government portrays, because they're hiding behind the government hide behind terrorism as a not an excuse but a reason to justify surveillance.
right.
Just as
Sort of a ends justify the means. Sort
exactly.
Of thing.
And an example is Stephen Harper used in the recent federal election in 2015. He used the niqab, Islamic woman like headwear, as an example to instill fear, and out of fear have the population vote for him, which clearly didn't work, which is a great testament to our country. But his argument was that the niqab should essentially be banned for all government identifications and a lot of legal proceedings, passport photos, right? Like you shouldn't be able to wear the niqab, and he kind of was using those arguments to instill fear, saying, kind of implying that there's something being hidden.
Right.
And it definitely worked. I mean, it definitely worked to instill fear and hatred in a lot of people. And it wasn't the truth. It was
a very stretched, very stretched excuse.
It was to justify Bill C-51, and it was to use that hatred that was created to create an agreement with Bill C-51, which in turn actually convinced some people that surveillance kept them safe at night, which is pretty crazy. And it was a pretty thought out plan of his, but it didn't work, which is good.
Well, I mean, whenever a government wants to enact some sort of law that is a little bit questionable, especially to the Charter of Rights, I think they'd have to do whatever they can possible in order to convince the general public that it's for the best interest of everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they got to stretch just about everything in order to convince people, to do that. So
yeah,
I can see why they did it. Obviously, it wasn't successful. Do I think it's a good idea to not wear niqabs during passport photos? Yeah, I actually would agree with that, because it's similar to wearing a baseball cap. A little bit more religious, obviously, but for a passport photo, you're not allowed to wear a baseball cap because it hides your hair
color,
head,
yeah.
whatever's underneath that cap. So
yeah, it's a good point
in terms of equality, I think.
Yeah, it is a good point, and I think you're right in saying that by standardizing it, right, and having more. But you're coming from a point where you genuinely think that that's just like the standard, right, and you should remove all headwear for a government photo. And that's religion aside.
We are aiming at a secular society here. That's the goal of of the modern age, where there are so many religions within a society where you can't really bias towards one or the other, or you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So if you want one without bias, it should be equal for everybody.
Yeah.
For everything.
Yeah. Whereas you're coming from a point where it should be that should be standardized, whereas Harper was coming from a point where like the goal was to create a fear and hate.
Right. So it was for the wrong reasons.
Yes. We're getting a little off.
We are off topic.
But we'll come back to
we were talking about before
the Paris attacks and how surveillance could or could not have
thwarted that plan.
Thwarted the plan. Yes. Yeah.
So we were talking about how an attack like that, of that magnitude, was obviously highly coordinated among a lot of people and more likely than not, they weren't all in the same room, and they did not discuss via letters or
No.
any sort of, non-traceable means of messaging. So it was definitely done online, and the argument is, would unlimited surveillance,
would they have caught
would
it?
they have, caught it and prevented it? Would they have caught it and dismissed it as a hoax?
Mm-hmm.
Which apparently, they get tons of reports of terrorist attacks that are just fake in general. So they could be feigned into believing,
It happens.
the wrong
It happens
information.
on a smaller scale too, where
Yeah.
there's reports of the rumor going around where someone's going to bring a gun to school.
Right.
And
Shuts down a whole
it doesn't happen, right? There was a post on 4chan saying, I can't remember, but it was a college in the States in 2015. Someone said, don't go to school on this day, and nobody did.
Right.
And there was no threat. But yeah, it's just an example of how, it's another example of how there's all of this technology is so influential, and it's such a great tool. But moving from the non-physical aspects, such as Facebook and all this data, wearable technology is becoming more and more prevalent. I mean, in my drawer, I have a smartwatch which can read my heart rate and send text messages and call people. It knows where I am. I mean, it's got a GPS in it and connects to my phone. It does like everything. It's a great tool, but
In the wrong hands,
exactly, I could.
that kind of information could be dangerous.
Who's to say that I'm not recording all the time on my wristwatch?
Right.
Or recording a conversation, It's pretty much like you see those old classic movies where you wear a wire. Oh, he's wearing a wire. We're all wearing wires now.
At this point, yes.
But we're not wearing them for the police, to stop a crime. We're wearing them for these corporations to collect data.
Information, yes.
And Google Glass, this Google Glass technology, which is, I think, still in development, but you can buy them.
Yeah, there's a prototype sort of betas
yeah.
to...
But the technology's there. You can
Yeah.
wear these glasses and just say, all right, Google, record a video. And it just starts recording a video through your eyes and not through your actual eyes, but through a camera on the glasses. And to the person you're looking at or the person you're recording, they have no idea that you're recording a video.
There's no impromptu, I don't know, signal that states, hey, I'm recording you, are you okay with this?
And that is
going to be...
And that is
detrimental
like
to
a
your
law.
life?
That is a law now to
Right.
say, if you're recording somebody, they have to know and they have to give consent to be recorded or photographed. But, I mean, with the camera that we're filming this podcast with, it's pretty obvious that we're being recorded.
Oh, we are?
If I were to take a picture of someone with that camera, they would immediately know.
Right.
There's a camera on me.
You'd have to be hiding in order for this to be, clandestine. I think it's made it a lot easier to do, I guess, negative things now that technology is advancing.
Absolutely.
And
I think
as a society, I think we need to adapt, rules, conditions,
there definitely has to be new
legislation.
New legislation and new laws put into place to say, maybe in certain areas you can't wear Google Glass.
Right.
But what if those are somebody's prescription glasses? It's a whole new issue that we've never really faced before. And the same could be so with like drones and drone cameras. Huge breaches of privacy. You could fly a drone 1,000 feet above somebody's house, record them in their backyard, and they would have no idea.
Right. It would just look like a fly in the wind.
Yeah. They wouldn't even hear it at that height. It would just...
No, definitely, and that kind of surveillance power given to a general population,
given to the public, it could scary.
Yeah, it definitely increases the chances of things going wrong. But at the same time, there's also benefits to these new technologies.
Absolutely,
some great innovations you could use with drone technology.
Yeah,
and
Amazon.
Amazon being at the forefront of this, where
That's pretty cool. That's
where
a very
they
cool
where they
idea.
plan to use drones as a means of transporting goods. And there's pros and cons to that too, being, it's convenient, it's quick,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time you're also getting rid of people's jobs. You're also creating this sort of traffic flow in the air that wasn't there before, and that's definitely going to come with repercussions at some point. You might have some drone on drone collisions, multiple companies sending out drones, and
Yeah.
they might not be as well coordinated. So there has to be new systems in place. And I know new laws have just been passed, every year ever since 2012, I believe, where they're trying to increase regulation on drones, and now it's to the point where every drone has to be registered if it's for
in the United States.
yeah, if it's
FAA.
for or if it's for commercial use.
Yeah, and that and drones are being drones have introduced in cinematography huge the average person can create aerial shots that you could only capture with a helicopter before which is amazing. But yeah, it creates this whole new subsection where we now have access. The general public now has access to aircraft with cameras that can be very quiet and record anything. So it is a huge. There's definitely. I think to kind of wrap up the entire idea of the future. I mean, in our generation, the technology that we have access to, the potential for a breach of privacy is just so vast, so large. And it's it's up to the public and it's up to society to choose whether or not they want it. But it's already here, and I think it's going to be here to stay.
Right. Yeah. You can't stop progress, right? Yeah. I mean, just like how cell phones have changed just about everything in the past, let's say, 20 years. I feel like drones and Google Glasses is the next phase to our evolution as a society, and we're going to incorporate them, and hopefully it's for the better.
I think an interesting thing to end on is just we're moving closer and closer to this sci-fi novel that I read in high school. This it's called We. It was written by Yevgeny Zamyatin, this Russian sci-fi author. And it's all about how people live in these in the society. They live in glass houses, entirely glass houses. And they all wear the same uniform and go to work every day and eat at the same time every day. And down to a rhythm. Their day is down to a rhythm. And they all are existing in this world where nothing is hidden. And obviously, I don't think we're ever going to be living in glass houses, but I think we've created a glass or transparent society with all this technology. So,
thank you for turning into Tinfoil Talks. I hope that this talk kind of sparked some thoughts in your mind. Feel free to leave us a comment in the comment section to talk about something that we missed, or if you have any ideas for something we could talk about next time. Our next episode is actually about platform capitalism and how Uber is changing the game.